What's up, Professor Wergeles here. If you stuck with me this far, that's great because we're almost done with the challenge. We set up a Ubuntu server. We've set up a production-like environment, making the server more secure. We set up our LAMP stack. We are almost ready to go. We've seen the default landing page. We now need to go and change the default landing page to a Hello World page. So that's what we're going to do next. Now, if you read the default landing page, which I recommend, make sure you know what a document root is. Make sure you know where the public HTML directory is. Make sure you know where the configuration files are. Make sure you know the two most important log files, which is the error log and the access log. Make sure you know basic information about servers. We're not going to go too deep into web servers, but you should know the basic information. You should know ports, configuration files, public HTML directory, what's the document root. Okay, the default is index. And just some basic information. So we have all that set up. We're now going to go and change the public HTML page. Instead of the document, instead of the default landing page, which is what you see here, we're going to make our own custom page. So I'm in my user account, and we're going to go over to the public HTML directory. So you should know this from 2830. We're going to cd into var, type V, hit tab, type W, hit tab, type HTML, hit tab. So that's your public HTML directory. Notice it starts with the /. If I go over here and remove the /, it's going to try to look from the current directory. No such file found. You need to start with the /, which means it's starting from the root directory. Go into var, go into www, go into HTML. If I do pwd, you'll see I'm in home, Wergeles end. So if I do a cd back, you'll see I'm in home. If I do a cd back, and here's where all your users will be. So if I have 10 users in the company, I'll have 10 directories here. If I have 1,000 users in the company, I have 1,000 directories here. So I'm going to go back. Here's my root. So if I do a pwd, you'll see it's a /. This is my root. If I do an ls, you'll see I do have var. So from the root, cd into var. I could use a local path now because I'm starting from the root. And then you'll see I have www. So I'll cd into www. And you'll see I have the HTML. So I'll cd into HTML. If I type cd, hit enter, it goes back to my user's current directory. So if I want to cd from the current directory, I'll start from the root, type V, hit tab, type W, hit tab, type H, hit tab. So it's var www HTML. That's our public HTML directory. You will be tested on that frequently. Hit enter, do an ls. This is the page that's loading. So the document root is index.html. So it's looking for the keyword index. If I open this up, so I just type I, hit tab. This is what's displaying on the page. So you'll see Apache 2 Ubuntu default page. It works. I scroll up. You'll see that here in the tab, in the title. You can't see the whole thing, but that's in the title tag. If I scroll down, you'll see all the CSS and all the HTML. So here's the top of the page, Apache 2 Ubuntu default landing page. And that's what it's going to say here. So one thing you could do is you can clear out the content. But like I said in the previous video, this page has a lot of important content. You should read it. It's going to tell you about the Apache web server on Ubuntu and tell you where everything is. So I don't recommend deleting it. I recommend keeping it and just changing the name. So I'm going to do a escape :Q exclamation for a force quit. That's quitting without saving. And I'm going to move the file. So I'm going to move index.html to index old.html. Okay, you'll see permission denied. Permission denied, why? Well, let's do an ls-l. So list the current directory and show all the information. You'll see the owner of this file is root and the group is root. And right now the owner has read or write permissions, but the group only has read and the world only has read. So when I open it from a browser, the browser reads this file and loads it on the web page. But the browser or anybody else in the world cannot write this file. Either can the group. The only person is the owner. So I could do a sudo. I can do a sudo move index.html to index old because sudo is the root user. Okay, so that worked, but it gets annoying typing sudo each time. And actually, we should go ahead and take advantage of the groups because we're making a production server. In 2830, I just said do a sudo change mod 777 to the public HTML directory. Okay, so that opened it up. So the public HTML directory was read write executable to the owner, read write executable to the group, read write executable to the world. But that's not very safe, and we're making a production server. So what we should do is add my user to the group and allow the group write access. Okay, that's what we should do. That way we don't have to type sudo every time. And that way, if I have, let's say, 10 people working on the public HTML directory who are updating the live website, they don't have to run sudo commands because I don't want to give everybody sudo commands. There should only be a very limited amount of people with sudo commands, usually only 1 or 2, depending on how many people you have in your company. Okay, so let's fix this up, and then we'll change the contents. Okay, so notice this permission denied because I tried to do it with Wergley's N, and Wergley's N is not the owner and also not in the group. So let's fix this up. So I can do a sudo. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change my user. I'm going to do a user mod -a-g. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add my user into the www data group. We talked about this in the previous video. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch where I went over the groups. So we're adding Wergley's N to the www group. So I'm going to add the user to the specific group. So I'm modifying this user. So before we do this, we're going to run this command. You don't need to delete this. Let me delete it real quick. And I'll just do a cat etc group. Right now you'll see Wergley's N is here. There's nobody in my group. And Wergley's N is in the sudo group. And right now nobody's in the www data group. So once I run that command, sudo user mod -a, I'm going to add to this group www data. I'm going to add Wergley's N. Now if I do the same command, so now you can run this command just to see if it worked. Go up to www data. You should see Wergley's N, so that's good. So I've added the first user to the group. If you had 10 users you wanted to edit this folder, you can add those 10 users to the group. If you only had a few, you can add a few. If you had 1,000, you can add 1,000, depending on how many users you need to add. So if I even type groups with an S, you'll see Wergley's N is in the Wergley's N group, in the sudo group. If I exit out, come back in, type groups again, and you need it to allow it to load. Now you'll see the 3. Okay, so it didn't load yet. I need to exit out, log back in. You'll see now I'm in the correct group. So now we want to do a sudo. Okay, we're going to do administrative command. We're going to change the ownership of the directory. We're going to do this recursively. So dash capital R. Make sure it's a capital R. We're going to add Wergley's N because that's going to be the root user. We could also leave it as root. So if I scroll back up, I did a ls-l on the HTML directory, and root was the owner, root was the group. You can leave it as root as the owner, but what we're going to do is change it to our username as the owner, and then we're going to change it to www-data as the group. So we're going to change Wergley's N as the owner, so you put your paw print there, and then we're going to put www, so we're going to do a colon, www-data as the group. And we're going to do this recursively to everything in var www. So this is going to include the HTML directory. So just real quick, let me copy this. You don't need to delete it. I'm just going to show you real quick. Right now I'm in the HTML. Okay, I'm actually in my user directory. Let me go to the public HTML directory. You don't need to do this. So here's HTML. If I do ls-l, I just want to show you what the permissions are. For the HTML directory, it's root and root, and it's read, write, executable to the owner, read and executable to the group, read and executable to the world. So now when I run this command, type the password for your sudo user. You only need to type it once. We exit and log back in. And now do an ls-l. You'll see it change. Instead of root, it's now wergleyzan and www-data. Okay, which is good. Now I don't need to do sudo if I'm moving the files around. So I cd into HTML. If I do a move index old back to index, I don't need to do sudo because I'm the owner and I'm also added to the group. Okay, so now if I do an ls, we actually want to keep index to index old because we're going to write a new file. And we want to keep the old file just in case we want to look at the content. But we're not done. We changed the ownership. We're also going to change the permissions. So I'm going to do a sudo change mod. We're going to do a 775. So it's open permissions to the owner, open permissions to the group, only read and execute to the world. So here it's RWX, RWX, and then R and X to the world. So we're just going to add a W here is what we're going to do. And in my tutorial, I have a 2 here. Okay, that's just for directory. If you ran it with the 2, that's fine. I'm going to run it without the 2 for now. And we're going to do that on the www directory. Okay, so if I do if I go back a directory, do ls-l on the HTML directory. Let's see, did I forget the -r? I think I did. Let me go back a directory real quick. Okay, so www has the right, but I need to do that recursively. So what I can do is I change it on the www directory, but I need to do it on all the subdirectories. So I'm going to do a find in the var www directory, type D for all the directories, and then I'm going to execute this command, sudo change mod 775, which is the same as what we did up here, to everything in that directory. So I'm going to look for all the directories, which right now it's only going to find HTML. The only thing in www was the HTML directory, but if you had a lot of files in there and you wanted to run this command later, you could do something like this. Find in this directory everything that is the type of directory. So find all the directories, then execute this command, sudo change mod 775 to everything in that directory. Click on enter. Now, if I do it ls-l, you'll see www has read, write, execute to the owner and to the group, but not to the world. If I cd into www, do a ls-l, now you'll see HTML also has that. So if I had a big public HTML directory with a lot of directories, and I wanted to do it to everything, you could type this command. If we did it to directories, we should also do it to files. So I'll do a find in the var www directory. Notice I'm starting from the root. We're going to look for all the type. So we're going to look for all the files, type F, and then we're going to execute this command. We're going to sudo change mod. We're going to not do 775. We're actually going to do 664 to everything in that, to everything that we found. Basically, we're going to do it to everything that we found. Okay, so click on next. Actually, before you do, I'm going to copy this. I want to just show you what the permissions are real quick to that index file. So cd into HTML to ls-l. You don't have to do this. I'm just showing you. It's read write to the owner, read to the group, read to the world. So if I run this command, do ls-l again inside HTML, you'll see now it's read write to the owner, read write to the group, which is www.data, and only read to the world. So this is secure. Only the owner can write the file or change the file, and only people in the group. And right now, I'm the only one in the group. But if you had a few developers, you wanted to edit the live version of the site, you can also add them in the group, and they could have write access. Or if you want it more secure, you just say the owner has write access. When the developers make an edit, then you're the only one who can edit the live version. Okay, but if you're the CEO, most likely you have a manager or some other executive that will handle the live version of the site. Okay, so you would add them in the group, and this is very secure because not everybody can write, only the owner and only the people in the group that you get to decide. Okay, so this is secure. If I come back and load the page, it should still work, except it changed the name. You'll notice it's not index.html, so it didn't load by default. It actually loaded the directory. So I can click on the file, and it still works. So let's fix that. We're going to make a hello world file. So if I do an ls, we can just do it real quick. I'm going to do a vi. I don't need to do sudo anymore because I'm the owner. I'm going to make a file called index.html. I clicked on I for insert. I'm just going to type hello world. Okay, then I'm going to click escape, shift:(X) for write and quit, save the file, come back here, go back, refresh the page, and you'll notice it doesn't load the file system anymore. It loads my new page, hello world. Okay, so we've successfully created this page. Now for the challenge, I just put text there. I just put hello world. For the challenge, you need the 5 required tags. You should add some HTML, some CSS, fix up the page properly, make a proper web programming page with the 5 required tags. If you don't remember what those are, go back, review them. Okay, you need the 5 required tags. It's the doc type, the HTML tag, the head tag, the title tag, and the body tag. And in addition, your challenge should pass the validator. Okay, so there's a few things you could do. You could connect FileZilla to your server, download the file, and upload it to the validator. So we're going to be using the W3C markup validator. So you come over here, you do a validate by file upload. You can also go over here to VI or Vim. You can copy the contents and do a validate by direct input. You can also validate by a URI, so if it's online. So if I come over here, copy my address, put it here, and do a check, it can also go to the page and pull the contents. I don't recommend doing by URI. Okay, I've seen it where it messes up a few times. The one that I recommend is doing by direct file upload or direct input. But if I just do a quick check by URL, it's going to go to that page, grab the contents. Okay, you'll see it messed up that time. Let me do a check again. Okay, so you see it's messing up, which is not good. That's why I don't recommend it, doing it this way. Does it go this time? It doesn't. I can do a Command-Shift-R for a hard reset. Let's try it again. Okay, it's still getting errors, and I'm not sure why. But earlier, you saw it pop up really quickly. I had a bunch of bugs. Make sure you fix the bugs. Make sure you don't get any errors. Make sure you get that green message, just like 2830, that says you have no warnings or errors. Once you do that, go ahead and submit your challenge, and you should be good to go. Okay, so we did a lot. Make sure you exit out of this file so you save all your changes. We started Ubuntu 18 server. We made sure that we did a production-like server. So we set up the host, we added a limited user, we modified the groups, we changed the SSH file, we disabled root logins, we installed a LAMP stack, we made sure Apache was set up, we made sure we installed MySQL securely, we then set up PHP. Then we tried to modify the public HTML directory. We saw we had the wrong permissions, so we modified the permissions on the public HTML directory, and now we have more of a production-like server. Make sure you do the same setup for your challenge. The TAs will be checking. They'll try to log in as the root, see if they get kicked out. They're going to try to log in several times, see if failed to ban kicks them out. They're going to run a small script. Make sure that failed to ban was installed successfully. Okay, so we're going to check all of these things. Make sure you run all these things correctly. Okay, this server isn't bulletproof, so it's not a bulletproof server that cannot be hacked. Okay, there's still holes in this server. There's still security features that you can add, but this is not a security course. We're just doing a little bit of security, making more of a production-like server. That way you follow proper programming techniques, because these are common questions in an interview. If you want to set up a bulletproof server, have more authentication, the more layers you add, the more secure it will be. But this is good enough for this course. Okay, we did a lot in these video lectures. We still have a lot to learn. We're going to set up name-based virtual hosts. We're going to change the configuration files. We're going to buy a domain name and link it to this server. We're going to set up HTTPS, and then we're also going to look at mean stacks. So there's a lot to come in the coming videos. That's all for this video series. Stick with Professor Wergeles, and we'll see you next time.